Australia's dire future. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heiser here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at another article warning us about the dire future here in Australia. How bad it is apparently going to be. Now remember, every time we look at one of these articles, it's designed to get attention because, well, people are a bit worried. Times are a bit tough. So people are having to tighten the belt. And, well, to be quite honest, we've had it so good for a very long time. Most people only remember the pandemic recession, which I'd argue is kind of a fake recession. Sure, there was a GDP, 2/4 of GDP decline, but there was money flowing out of everywhere. It's free money everywhere. Businesses were getting extra money. People were sitting at home on extra money. There you go. What was the recession we had before then? The recession Australia had to have. Behold, a huge chunk of the workforce that probably barely even remember that. I barely remember. Because my old man was in the construction game. So we noticed it. So let's have a look here, guys. A black hole. Nice and scary. That's it. Yes, good work. Aussie billionaire Gerry Harvey's grim warning about the country's future. An Aussie business billionaire has warned the country's headed into a great big black hole of debt. So I would argue this is another pillar of the housing market because it will ensure we continue to push for increased population growth. And what does that mean in Australia? It doesn't mean people having more children. It means more people migrating here to Australia. So there you go, guys. If you're hoping for a correction in the housing market, I see it all the time in the comments, people making these predictions. Oh, it's about to crash. I've heard it all before. If I got $1 each time I heard those comments, well, there you go. That'd be a really good ad rate on YouTube. Billionaire Gerry Harvey has issued a grim warning about Australia's future, predicting the country is headed into a great big black hole of debt alongside high inflation and interest rates, he said. Okay. The Harvey Norman co-founder and chairman speculated Australia would be much worse off in 5 years' time when speaking at the retail group's annual shareholder meeting in Sydney on Wednesday. Debt is a huge problem going forward because the way that we are travelling at the moment, we are heading into a great big black hole, Mr. Harvey told the Australian. This is not going to happen tomorrow. But if you're trying to figure out 5 years from now, where will Australia be with the way we've been behaving at the moment, we'll be in a much, much worse position than we are today because of the cost of all things the government wants. Health, it's going up. Aged care, it's not going down. NDIS and social services, all this money they need, they haven't got it. Yeah, well, he's right. NDIS, it's interesting. Apparently, a lot of people, because we've got one of our son has a plan, and my wife is saying some of her friends are getting all these things cut and everything, but it's a completely government-regulated market with government-set price maximums. So what do you think everyone is going to charge? They're going to charge the maximum all the time. Then they're going to charge extra hidden costs on things like cost to take minutes, cost to do this, cost to take notes. People are milking it. Social services are just going to keep going up. It's going to get more expensive. So they're going to keep bringing more and more people in here. They want to keep the tax base growing, everyone. Could you imagine any politician at all being able to make cuts to anything? Any of these things? Health, aged care, NDIS, social services. It's all too emotional. You'll be able to pull the heartstrings at people, manipulate them emotionally so they won't make rational calls. That's the problem. Whenever you set up anything like this, you're setting it up forever. You can never get rid of it. Even reductions are going to be impossible. So the best hope, and this is why I understand now why they don't tie pension automatically to inflation, so they can just lower the adjustment rate over time to try and reduce the burden. You know what? I think we'll still get the pension when I'm ready to retire, but it'll probably be the same amount as we're getting now, guys. The 85-year-old said the current state of the Australian economy was okay, but the country was struggling with inflation fueled by high government spending. Governments can't spend all this money and throw money out there in the economy and then expect interest rates to drop and inflation to drop. It can't happen, said the veteran retailer. And interest rates will not come down, or if they do, it will be very minimal. Yeah, I agree with him here. I think when we see a cut, honestly, we don't want them to come down, because if they go down too much from where we are now, we're outside of the normal range. We're in the healthy range right now, between 4 and 6, maybe even up to 8%, probably not. But, this range, it's reasonable. You can actually earn some money from your investments again in the bank, guys. It's a novelty. When I was a kid, you'd put money in a term deposit and it'd actually be worth something. You'd get a return. We can be sitting here this time next year and our interest rates may not be any different to what it is now. Or it might be marginally lower, but it's not going to be 2% or 3% where it was. Yeah, no. Unless something dramatic happens, we're not going to see those rates that we saw before. The 0.1, the pretty much negligible tax rate, cash rate target, was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's a once-in-a-100-year event. So October's inflation rate. It comes as Australia's headline inflation rate remained well within the Reserve Bank target range, with official figures from the ABS showing prices rose by 2.1% in the last 12 months to October. But the all-important trim mean, or underlying inflation rate, which the RBA monitors, rose to 3.5% for the month of October. In September, this measure was at 3.2%. This is outside the RBA's target range for inflation of between 2 to 3%. The trim data removes volatile aspects of the consumer price index basket, including oil and electricity. Remember when electricity was going to get cheaper? Oh boy, that's probably the biggest concern. All these people are crying for manufacturing here in Australia. You can't have it, not with the political will, as in the majority of people. No one wants anything dirty here in Australia. They wouldn't dare. And just the costs are going to keep getting more and more expensive. Energy is not going to get cheaper. Electricity prices were down 35.6% compared to a year ago as government rebates for both federal and some state governments lowered the cost of power bills. Yeah, but okay. But these rebates, it's all just bullshit because we're going to have to pay it back anyway. The government has incurred a debt. The government's in debt, both state and federal government. So, I mean, you've got to take the perspective. They're not going to ever pay down their debt. They're going to continue to milk you for as much tax revenue as they can. They're going to keep the population growth going. So you need to have that in mind when you plan for your future. I wouldn't be sitting there waiting for a calamitous property collapse if the economy goes to shit. We saw even unemployment rate isn't going to impact property that much. And if it does, if we start seeing bad times, where do you think they will stimulate the economy? What sector? How do you think they'll do it? Construction, property, that's what they'll do. It's how they get the bang for the buck. Transport fuel was also 11.5% as international issues, including weaker Chinese demand and easing Middle East tensions, sent global oil prices lower. So, Harvey Norman enjoyed a 1.7% rise in sales between July and October, the retailer reported at Wednesday's AGM. Sales have increased 3.2%, and same-store sales were up 3.1% for the period at the flagship Australian operator. However, sales were slightly lower than expected. I mean, I prefer Amazon, to be honest, than Harvey Norman for stuff. They don't even have a computer game department anymore. I guess none of them do now. The old days of big box games, it's gone. When speaking about his own future, Mr. Harvey told news.com.au that in 2022, retirement was not on the cards. Why would you slow down at 83? It's more interesting, like this every day. I've got all these challenges and triumphs and disasters, the then 83-year-old said. On the prospect of life after 90, Mr. Harvey said he was constantly learning from his elders. Yeah, I think if he stops, he's like a shark. He needs to keep moving. Every time I come across someone who's over 90, I question them. How did you get to 90? What exercises do you do? How's your diet? Sometimes it's a local bloke who might not even be making money, still working hard at 92, doing a lot of exercise. His diet is good. He's happy, healthy. I'm going to talk to him. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You got to keep active. I remember a friend's dad, retired, dead really quick. It's sad. I think for men, being active and working is such an important part of your life. He doesn't have to be successful. He just has to be alive and well. In my observations, the ones that do that have a longer, happier life. So there we go, everyone. Let's have a bit of a chat about this one, eh? So some dire predictions from good old Harvey there. What do you reckon, everyone? I can't see anything changing at a federal or state level in Australia within our lifetime. To be quite honest, I can't see it changing. I can see more of the same occurring and just, piling on more and more debt and finding ways to continue to kick the can down the road. And it'll probably outlast all of our lifetimes. I wouldn't be shocked. Remember, we're a small country on the edge of the world. We're safe. We're boring. Sure, our house prices are expensive for us, but we're not earning money in USD. Earn it in USD, boom. Suddenly, quite affordable. And you'll constantly have people from overseas seeing Australia and looking at the opportunities. What do you reckon, guys? Do you think we've got a grim future? Or it's just reality? As always, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.